Hello, everyone.
Good morning to everybody, or schönen guten Morgen, as the Germans say. My name is Karina Eliksar. I am from Enterprise Estonia and International Sale. And my responsibility is Growth Program Germany, which actually means all the services for Estonian enterprises for helping the exports to Germany. The topic of our webinar today is Corona crisis, a virtual approach to business in Germany. We invited our good partners and experts from Germany to tell us a little bit about the situation in Germany and about the possibilities for doing business with Germany in this difficult time. And our experts and partners today are Matthias Höfer and Daniel Gundelach. Matthias and Daniel are experts in live marketing. They are experts in consulting companies to enter the German market through trade fair and event participations. They also provide consulting for creation of hybrid events and digital presentation of corporate content. And currently they are building a startup meeting, which is functioning as a knowledge tank for meeting experience between corporates and the target groups, and that's all digital and face-to-face. So it's my pleasure. Matthias and Daniel, the virtual stage is yours, please.
Thank you very much, and welcome everyone.
Yeah, I would like to give you a quick overview about what you are going to see, what we are going to talk about in the next hour. First, I'm going to give you a short overview about the economic situation in Germany and how companies are affected by the corona crisis here in this country. And then we will have a look on some options for action to acquire new leads in Germany during this crisis times. And then we will focus on virtual events for customer acquisition, a special tool that is very interesting at those times. And we will see how it works and how you could do marketing for those kinds of events. So the coronavirus is in our life, has come into our lives spontaneously, and nobody was in such a situation before. In Germany, we were watching a quick spread of the virus over the whole country, starting in southern Germany, and nowadays we have hotspots in western and southern Germany, and some regions where the number of infection is still growing, but in general we are looking on decreasing numbers. In Germany, we have a lockdown of schools, shops, restaurants, and so on. So the whole public life is shut down right now. Only grocery stores and so on are open from today on. In some federal states, other stores may open, but in Bavaria, especially, we have one more week where every shop is closed. So not only the shops are closed, but if you watch at our camera pictures, you see that Daniel and me are at home and working from home, and every company is advised to let their employees work from home office if it's possible in any way. We are only allowed to leave houses for a good reason. That means if you have to go buy your food or have to meet a doctor or anything like this, but you are not allowed to meet your maybe grandparents or parents or friends, and the police is looking very closely on this. What is interesting for you as Estonians, we have an entry ban for all foreign travelers. So you have to have a very good reason to enter the country, and you have to bring a sheet of paper that says you're not ill, you're not suffering from COVID-19, and you have to bring a piece of paper of your company that says you have a good reason and why you have to enter the country. So this means it's better to work online, it's better to work with virtual tools and try to reach your customers through those channels. In our case, that we are doing live marketing and are dealing with the big trade fairs in Germany, it's very sad to see that all kinds of events and conventions are forbidden, at least until May 3rd. And events over 1,000 participants are forbidden at least until the end of August. So this is a really severe situation for the whole branch of event and trade fair. All the companies that are working in those branches are really suffering from loss of revenue by almost 100% for this year. So this is very hard and very bad.
Matthias, if I may add something to this, if you talk to the big messes in Germany, to Düsseldorf, to Munich, to Frankfurt, to Berlin, and so on, if like some inside information that isn't confirmed, but that you can maybe a little bit build your live marketing strategy upon, is that large exhibitors for Expo Real, for example, are canceling for the real estate trade shows taking place just the week after Oktoberfest, which is most likely will not take place this year. So large companies are canceling their trade show participations in the fall. In October, there's the first trade shows that have been postponed from March, from April to the fall season to September, and are already cancelled. So I would not rely on going back to trade shows, being able to presenting yourself at trade shows in the fall, in the early fall at least this year.
Yeah, that's true. And you should really have a close look on the situation, how it develops. Just to give you an idea of the impact of this situation, the Oktoberfest has an economic worth for the town of Munich of 2 billion euros. And the Messe München, with all their events, even more worth of economic development. So it's really hard for the whole region of Munich if trade fairs don't take place, if Oktoberfest is cancelled. And we have the same situations in all other cities and regions in Germany. So we are facing a big damage and a very challenging situation for the next months or years. But nevertheless, federal states, companies, federal government, and everybody is already working on different exit strategies. So from today on in most country parts, shops will open if they are not more than 800 square meters of
ground space.
Yeah, right. Thank you. It's too early in the morning in those times. And other businesses will follow from next week or mid of May. So we are hoping that we will get back to an almost normal life within the next months. But it's right now clear that we have to meet special rules concerning the distance. So we have to keep 1.5 to 2 meters distance in shops. I think we will have to wear face masks in future times, and we have to provide hygienic measures in the shops and wherever it's possible to clean the hands and everything. So this will change our daily life for sure. And on the other hand, this opens new possibilities, new options for companies to enter the market, even from other countries. So if we have a closer look on the business in Germany, we have 725,000 companies signed in for short-time work. If you look back to 2009, the financial crisis, we had 65,000 companies signed in for short-time work. So it's multiplied by 11 or 12. So this is really a high number. And also global players such as VW, Bosch, Daimler, and so on are in short-time work right now. If we look at the GDP in Germany, the OECD expected, those numbers are from March, a plus of 0.3%, and the IMF expects, these are newer numbers, a -7% decrease of the economic power of Germany. For 2021, the numbers are a little bit better, and hopefully they come true. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. Anyway, we are seeing that our federal government spends more than 1.2 billion, 1,200 billion euros to avoid the most economic damage. But anyway, we are facing a huge wave of insolvencies amongst the small and medium-sized enterprises. So this is going to be very challenging to help them not to get bankrupt and to get through those hard times. And adding to this, the supply chains are severely damaged. So if industry gets back to business, they will run out or have already run out of raw materials, so they can't produce at all. In the companies, task forces are set up to find ways to get out of this crisis. It's very interesting to look in the companies and see how creative they get and with what ideas they come up you've never seen before, and that's very interesting. So in our business, face-to-face meetings are very important, and we know how important they are for making your sales be successful. And in these times, no face-to-face meetings lead to lower sales figures, and so we have to deal with this situation where everybody is at home. But nevertheless, we will show you some options that make us smile again. And it's not too far. You can imagine that you, maybe on first hand, you should call all contacts you know in person. People are at home in Germany. They have, most of them, have a lot of time to listen to other people, to talk to other people, and they are happy to be called and to talk about their situation and to hear how the situation is in other countries. So this is a very good option to stay in contact and maintain your relationship to your customers.
Especially when you think about the situation that you are supplying goods to your customers, they don't know exactly how the situation is in Estonia. So why not call them up and just send them a signal that that you are still around, that you are planning for after the crisis, and just to reduce insecurity would be a very good idea. Just send a signal that that you are alive to your existing customers. It will be very well appreciated, and the good thing is everybody working at home, you will reach people better than in if they're in the office and in one meeting after the other. So it's a really high chance to really get a person on the line.
Yeah, you can also do this by email to the contacts you may not call or don't want to call, or if it's too many contacts. But please consider to put some news in your email that are really useful for your customers. So if you provide material that is short in Germany, could be a very good chance to say, well, we still have, I don't know, wood, and we can deliver it to you. We still have electronic pieces that companies in Germany need. So check the situation on the market and then make a good offer and get in contact by email. And also use social networks. We'll come to this later on, but post your ideas on any social network you're in. And if you want to, and we will talk about this later on, invite your customers to special online presentations. Daniel will tell you about this in a few minutes. So another good option is to check your contacts on the professional social networks like LinkedIn or Xing. I don't know if this is public or used in Estonia, but at least LinkedIn is very popular all over the world, and Xing is a big professional network in Germany. So this is maybe the first step you can do in person to keep your contacts, to keep your customers in contact with you. But then there are other possibilities like industry portals and B2B platforms you may use. Maybe you didn't have to before, but right now it could be a good idea to look what they can provide. The first thing is that you could do research on all those websites of the industry. You find current news of the situation the industry is facing. You see how they see the forecasts for the next months and years, and you will discover the specific challenges for this industry sector. So it's a research possibility that you should really use to make you an even better picture of the situation. You can then also use or buy paid content if you have any interesting content. Media is keen on having positive messages in their news sections, and you can also buy your ads on those media, especially in the surrounding of your specific industry. Use the possibility to send out press releases to any special interest magazines. Maybe you are doing an interview with your CEO, or you do best practice showcases of the production of your company or whatever you want to. It's interesting for Germany to see how others perform and what other solutions are there in other countries. So this is a very good possibility to show what you can do, what you can provide. And we have collected some websites for you. You can download this presentation later on and have the most important industry associations listed here. You can also do your own research, but it's Bundesverband der Deutschen Industrie. It's the German Industry Association. It's one of the biggest in Germany, and it's the one that has a word in politics and is listened by the politicians. And then we
also,
have
Matthias, if I may have to add, why is the classical B2B industry so interesting for you? If you're a supplier of materials for the supply chains of B2B industry companies, these supply chains are severely under surveillance at the moment, because companies really ask themselves, is it a good strategy that we outsourced everything to the Asian producing countries? I think Corona will be a kickoff for rethinking supply chains and also choosing companies that are closer geographically and also from the cultural aspect, closer to the origin of countries. So if you supply materials for supply chains of B2B industries, then you will, in the next months, in the next years, well, have open ears in the companies because they're rethinking their sourcing.
Yeah, that's true. And we have a question here. So it's about what sectors and businesses are demanding, what are the demands right now. So in Germany, almost as in every other European country, healthcare is a big issue. We don't have enough face masks. We don't have enough safety clothes for the doctors and everything like that. E-commerce is, well, it's going up, sure, but everything concerning the reopening of the businesses is very interesting. So if you have, I don't know, the situation that you only let in like 100 people in the shops, somebody has to count them. Maybe there are systems who can count, that can count people. You have to provide hygienic measures in front of the shop. Maybe everybody has to disinfect their hands. So everything like that is asked for in Germany, and new ideas are really
necessary. And as I said, B2B supply chains are really being looked at from company side at the moment. So if you have replacement products that companies can source in Estonia rather than in Vietnam, in other Asian countries, then you will be in a good situation to talk to companies about exchanging sourcing partners.
Yeah, and this is what we also discover, or what we see, that many companies that were sourcing in the Far East are looking for sourcing possibilities within Germany or within the European Union, so that we are able to provide everything in a very short distance, so that there are no long ways and no far away productions. So this is discussed in German companies. Let's move on to the next chart. We have social networks, you all know. The two professional networks are Xing and LinkedIn, I mentioned before. Xing is very strong in Germany, focused on business contacts, focused on German-speaking countries, but it's a very good platform to be in especially for virtual events. We will come to that later on. We have a LinkedIn special network for business contacts also, but it's worldwide. I don't know, I didn't mention Viber in this presentation because Viber isn't relevant in Germany. I don't know if it is in Estonia. What is interesting, even also for research or for posting your messages, is Twitter. Everybody knows Twitter. I don't know if many of you use it actively, but we watch that Twitter users are going up in Germany, and people try to inform themselves via Twitter even more. And it could be interesting to reach your target group. We have a Facebook and Instagram. It's more for the B2C business communication. And then we have YouTube, which is interesting for any kind of videos you may produce. For you as a business, those 5 are very interesting. Facebook and Instagram are, and you should have a look on this, are pushing businesses in 30 countries worldwide with free ads worth $100 million. But unfortunately, I couldn't find Estonia, but there is a possibility to get in touch with them to maybe make a deal with them as an Estonian company. But this is very interesting what they are thinking about to help companies get through this crisis. Well, Xing and LinkedIn is for the personal contact in the first hand, but both of those networks are providing business solutions. And I've put in the links to the business solutions site, and it's very interesting to have a look at those websites and the possibilities they offer for you as a company to get in touch with your customers. Both of those networks are very, very good in targeting your target group. So you can very precisely reach the people you want to reach. And this is very interesting for you as a foreign company. And also Twitter has special business offers, special possibilities for you as a company to post your content and to target your customers. But the only platform that is really good in virtual events is Xing. And how virtual events can be done for customer acquisition. This is now the part of Daniel, who will tell you how you could use Xing for customer acquisition.
Yes, thanks, Matthias. Well, what's going on at the moment, if you look at live marketing, is that all the big organizers are actually postponing trade shows. Okay, I'm just checking the controls here, Matthias. I think you have to take over. I can't change to the next slide.
No problem.
For whatever reason. See, this is also Corona. Corona is being agile. Corona is being fast. Teaches us that not everything has to be perfect. So what's going on? Big trade show organizer are postponing their events to the fall season. And now the fall season events are partly already cancelled. And of course, some companies that organize trade shows also offer virtual substitutes to well, to still offer something to the companies that plan to exhibit at their show. So for whatever trade show you signed up for, it doesn't matter if it was a part of a group stand of Estonia or as an individual company, please check the website of the trade show if they are offering some kind of substitute, virtual substitute, to display yourself as a company to the relevant the target groups. What we see on company side is that they and we try to categorize it in a way of different levels of interaction, offer virtual content, virtual presentation, and other measures to get in contact with potential leads. What we see is webcasts, webinars, live stream, and some companies are actually setting up own virtual trade shows. And I would like to get a little bit into this. Matthias, if you could, yes, go to webcast. Well, what is a webcast? I don't want to go too much into detail, but it's basically like Netflix in the internet. You can actually follow a recorded presentation. Sometimes it's also live, and then in a second step, the recorded version is displayed, and the slides are option for download. And it's often a live presentation where someone is holding a presentation, but it's nothing of interaction. You hold a presentation, record it, you put it in the internet, and people can listen to it. It's push communication. It's not integrating your target group. It's not about learning about your target groups. And this is different with a webinar. A webinar, the thing that we are having right now, you can ask questions. We're going to also include a poll later on. And a webinar, could you go to the next slide, Matthias, please? Yes, a webinar is basically a live stream presentation. You have a co-moderation setup where you can actually ping pong moderation. So it gets a little bit more lively for participants. Participants can ask questions, can also be, like, you're all muted due to the high number of participants, close to 100 participants we have, and so we don't need the background noises, then we couldn't be able to communicate any at all. But we could, of course, you have the option to really include participants into discussions. You have chat function, polls, etc. It's more interactive than webinars. And the third level would be, Matthias, if you go to the next page, would be that you have an event internally in your company and that you live stream this event. It could be, for example, a press conference, but it's like just yesterday or the day before, you had these musician superstars having a live stream event, a concert being streamed into the net. And you can very well use that kind of technique for your company events, for providing deeper insights into your company. When you think about giving insights, visual insights into your production line or a presentation of your products, an interview with your CEO, a panel discussion about hot topics that your industry is interested in, and so on and so on. So a live stream is more than a presentation. It's providing deeper insights, and you just you internally set up an event and live stream it into the internet, and of course record it for download. And then the most interactive presentation form is to set up a trade fair, but a virtual trade fair. It's the closest to a real trade fair, and it's, of course, yeah, from resource side point of view, it's the most complex thing to do, but there is standard solutions so that companies don't have to program everything themselves. There's standard solutions for companies who aim to really have a mix of live communication, live chat, webinars, live streaming, also self-service download points at if you want to have all this mixed, then a virtual trade show would be a good solution. have an example here, Analytica, the trade show of the analytics business in Germany should have taken place beginning of April, and it was cancelled. What happened? An exhibitor, Lumitos, who's like a branch network where people can from the analytic business can access information and discussion, and just like an industry portal. They set up the virtual lab show, and 120 something companies signed up for this virtual trade show. And I have an example in here, Gerhard, on the website of Gerhard, who was an exhibitor at the virtual lab show. You can get some more detailed information and some insights about how a virtual trade show is set up. And yeah, just have a look at what different interaction options you could provide to your target groups. Yeah, when we look at the tools that you can use for setting up different kinds of virtual shows, then I try to categorize it in for companies who actually want to start with smaller events, and also for companies who say, well, we have a bit of budget, we have resources to really go big and do a more complex setup of virtual event. Yeah, here you see the overview of smaller meetings, tools that you can use for smaller meetings. And of course, quite some of these tools offer solutions for small companies, for small events, and also for larger events, for virtual conferences and webinars. One would be Cisco WebEx, for example, the GoToSuite, GoToMeeting for smaller events, GoToWebinar for larger event, GoToEvent for very large events, live streaming, broadcasting, and all that kind of stuff. If I would have to choose, I wouldn't choose Zoom at the moment, because Zoom had some data issues, and as you all know, Germans are very, very interested in the security of their data. So setting up virtual events, if I would be you, I wouldn't use Zoom at the moment unless they have solved their data issues. But if you look for an all-round tool, we're using GoToWebinar. GoToMeeting has been in the market for a long time, running stable. Good or different options. You can upgrade depending if you want to set up smaller and larger events. So very flexible, and from the investment, actually something in the area of 50 euros, 50 or 80 euros per month. So that is quite okay for the mid-sized version. Yeah, virtual trade shows. Expo IP is a company a German company that has set up the virtual lab show, for example. Also, if you look at the Expo IP website, then you will get a deep insight into how to set up, and also the costs connected to virtual trade shows. If we take a look at the cost. Oh, well, sorry. First at the, yeah, no, don't worry. We can go with the essentials. Essentials is a great thing when you think about setting up a virtual trade show. Corona is teaching us to be quick. You can, and I really recommend you to start with a pragmatic approach. Don't expect to produce 100% solution. A 95% solution in these times is just as good. Important for you as being an Estonian company. Estonia is one of the most digitized companies in the world, and we Germans have heard about it. And but we don't have too much trust in Estonia, to be honest. Like a used car. I wouldn't buy in Estonia, because where does it come from? Is it stolen from Germany? Like, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but German companies, if they think about sourcing, you really have to provide them the reason why. Why should they go with your solution? There's insecurity, and you need signals of trust to reduce the insecurity. Really, please make sure that you display the reason why. What is your USP? What is your USP, and what is in for the personas? Don't think too much about well, you have to think about your experience when you set up a virtual webinar, because that's going to be the content, but also think about the situation of the personas that you are aiming at. What situations are they in? What are their problems? What are their problems they're facing connected to the corona crisis? And then really make sure that you have a section where you display why they should trust your company, being an Estonian company entering the German market. You need signs of proof, reason why, and also proving why this is what you're saying is really to be expected by the company. Very important signs of trust if you want to enlarge your sales pipeline in Germany. Everybody everybody says we can do everything, but the proof is something, especially if you don't know someone in person, it's very important that you include signals of trust. Okay, let's go to the next page. Also, when setting up a virtual event, when talking about topics, I would like to point out two things. The first is design, and the second is moderation. Let's come to the aspect of design. Let's say I took this example from my life. For example, nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is something that is very important when you think about live marketing. Matthias, we would have a slide here that says nonverbal conversation is very important. And I could go on and on about this topic and talk about it. And you have a slide where I've verbalized the topic. But when I put to nonverbal communication a visual approach and show you this picture you will have in mind probably a lot longer when I'm talking about nonverbal communication. So always the points that you want to make, connect them with a visual approach that is really connecting to the heads of your audience. The next thing I would like to say is that the slides that you produce, please reduce them to the max. This is a slide of Pentagon, actually, and they show in very much detail what they want to bring across. I don't know if this is a good idea for a virtual event slide. Probably not. I think you should really reduce the content and connect it with a strong visual impact, like this one. When I'm talking about moderation, I want to point out that if you do a virtual presentation, you should do the moderation in ping pong style, so that Matthias and me, we're throwing balls at each other, and really sometimes I'm talking a little bit and he's adding something, and the other way around, so it gets more lively for you being the audience. So moderation of a virtual event should really be ping pong style. I think, I hope I got this point across. Conducting a virtual event is, of course, very challenging, but the most challenging part, just as in real-life communication and face-to-face communication at trade shows, is the follow-up. What are you doing after the presentation? And of course, you should do quite some things. The presentation isn't over when your 40 minutes are up. Definitely at the end of the presentation, you should include a call to action. You should tell the audience what to do. How can they get into contact with you? And please don't put an info address there. They probably will not do it. Also, proactiveness. not only use the one-time information or the one-time incident of your virtual event for getting in contact with the target groups, but as you have the data, the registration data of the persons, you have to be proactive and follow up and really just keep in touch and send them information. Even if you don't hear something from them right away, if they don't signal interest, that doesn't mean that they're not interested. Maybe just they need another sign or another 2 or 3 signs for having your company in the relevant set when they take procurement decisions. Content provision, as we do, the participants should be able to access the content that you were presenting, and afterwards, please do something that the audience does not expect. If you do everything they expect, then that's normal. But if you do the unexpected, if you have the contact data of your audience, maybe you write them a postcard if you have the postal address in the registration as well. This is something people will not expect. Everybody's working at home, and when they're coming back to their company, they have a postcard of you, of your company on their desk, something that might be a second chance for getting in contact. But the one thing that is very important about virtual events, even if you, especially if you're entering a new market, is the marketing aspect of it. And yeah, let me focus on this for the next few minutes. And then we have 5 more minutes for discussion also. So marketing of virtual events, you have different options. You have your channels that you're using. You have your paid media, you have your earned media, you have your own media, but you will not get around to really use the paid media channel to promote your virtual event. And here you just have an overview of the paid media or the different medias that you have. Content into your channels and paid media is something very important if you want to enter a new market. If we look at the next slide, once again, we would like to focus on LinkedIn, a business network that you all know, and on Xing, a business network that you might not be so aware of. It's perfect for getting started in the DACH, in the German, Austria, Switzerland region. It's 17 million B2B contacts. There's more contacts in there, but 17 relevant B2B contacts. And also, it has a very good event marketing platform included. LinkedIn is more about network, about content, about news, and also jobs. This is something that Xing is especially focused on, is the event side of business. It's more budget oriented, also budget solutions, and very, very good targeting. You can break it down to your very pinpoint target groups when you want to distribute the ads of your virtual events too. If we look at the next slide, I just included an example of Xing events. You see my starting page, and then on the left side, you see an area of events. And when you set up events, you have the possibility to really market them in a very good way. You can create this Event Plus page, which guarantees you already to that your event is displayed to a large number of B2B contacts. And then if you use the advertisement section, then of course you can really break it down to your respective target groups, and all this target group will get information about your events. You can also do this, of course, in a similar way with LinkedIn, but you don't have the option to set up an event page and really do the registration and all these kind of things with LinkedIn. So promoting your event, you should use all your channels, including LinkedIn, and setting up the event, promoting the event also to the DACH region. I would definitely go with Xing. And when we look at virtual events, budget implications, the tools that I have displayed all range from somewhere between 0. There's free versions, of course, for smaller events or one-to-one meetings with your existing partners, to about 1,000 euros per month. 1,000 euros per month will be, for example, a virtual trade shows that you set up for your company and want to have online for the whole year. That would be in the region of 8 to 10,000 euros range when we look at Expo IP, for example. Setting up a virtual event, you should take 3 to 4 to 5 days to actually decide on the content, to prepare the content, to set up an event page, market the event. This will take about 30 hours if you start small. Also, if the decision is, do you all do yourself, or is there agency support? If you look at German agency, they start at around 80 euros per hour. Depending on if you use an Estonian support agency, I don't know what their wages are. You know way better than me. Xing events and paid media. If you set up an event in Xing and really want to market it to a very pinpoint target groups, you can, with 250 euros, you're well set. And of course, you have also an analytical tool included in Xing, where you really see how many impressions did your virtual events get, how many people, and actually who looked at the event site. So 250 euros would be, so to say, a good budget for marketing a webinar, for example. The total process, if you say the preparation takes a week, then you need a week or 2 weeks for marketing the event. So you should really calculate for 2 to 3 weeks in total if you really speed up on the accelerator. The slot length shouldn't be more than 30 to 40 minutes. The span of participants after 30 minutes really decreases. So I would recommend not as we did it to have an hour, but really keep it short. If someone sees in the information that your event is taking an hour, then this might be a little bit too long. Half an hour is definitely better. When you do the registration, when you set up a registration page, for example, with Xing events, then you have to also include the consent that you may use the data for follow-up activities. And the follow-up activities you should definitely plan when planning your event. How are you going to follow up on the participants? Very important. And don't forget to use the analytical part of virtual events. You can very much gather details into when did you have the most participants, when were they actively following your presentation, and so on and so on. So there's in all those tools, or most tools, go to webinar. I can definitely say I know it. You have very deep analytical possibilities to check the success. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for your attention. I have registered some questions. I tried to answer some of them via the question tool. There is the last question concerning the trade shows in the fall season. So the question was if they are going to take place or not. We are looking from week to week how the situation develops. In Bavaria, Markus Söder and the mayor of Munich, Dieter Reiter, are discussing if the Oktoberfest should be cancelled or not. Now, right now, they are very skeptical that it will take place. And on the other hand, we are talking to Messe München, and they say, well, we listen to what the politicians discuss and decide. And as all the big events are canceled until August 31st, it is not unlikely that the trade fairs like IFAT, which was postponed from April, May to September, and maybe
IFAT is already cancelled, I think.
Well, it's not official.
I'm okay. Well, I'm not sure about it. Yeah.
But it's very likely that they are going to be cancelled because it's not only the corona situation in Germany, it's also the situation of the visitors and the companies, the exhibitors, that they are not allowed to leave their country, that they are not allowed to enter Germany, that they have severe problems in their companies and can't afford to exhibit on this trade fair. So my suggestion is that you just look closely at the German Bavarian press, and you will see what happens. And we don't know yet what's going to happen, but it's very likely that at least all trade fairs and big events in September and October are not going to take place.
Or maybe take place, but in a very reduced sort of setup. If they cancel Oktoberfest, which takes place end of September, in the second half of September, beginning of October, then it's very likely that other large gatherings will take place. This is what we figure. We, of course, this is not something that is approved by government officials or anything, because they just don't know yet. We're just trying to look into the future for the second half, or at least for the fall, after August 31st. We're not very sure if large international trade shows will really take place. Just think about the travel restrictions of other countries. Germany is talking about of canceling the summer break for students, for pupils, for schools. So there's very high insecurity about traveling. If think about electronica, for example, a high number of exhibitors and visitors from Asian countries. I have very much doubt that this will just that will be back to normal at October or November. I think it will be a reduced setting or postponed, cancelled.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. We have another question here. Where do you see Estonia's advantages and disadvantages as a production hub compared to Scandinavia, better known, great marketing, and Poland, Czech, and Slovakia, closer to Germany, partly cheaper labor costs? I think this question was answered by Daniel in a partial way. Daniel, do you want to?
Well, yeah, sure. Well, Scandinavia, basically, when we think about Scandinavia, high quality, high prices, high reliability. When we think about Estonia, I would say lower prices, but we also have heard that Estonia has really underwent tremendous development after joining not after joining the European Union, but in the last 10-15 years, let's say. So we have heard about Estonia being a highly digital, one of the most digital countries in the world, and this is something that we are not. So we know there's some competency in Estonia that we in Germany don't have. So really the quality issue is probably not being as big anymore. We know that the wages are lower, the prices for if we source products in Estonia should be lower. This is definitely what we expect. And what we're unsure about is the reliability. Scandinavia, reliability 100% approved. Estonia, we just don't know. So whatever you focus on in your presentation, please don't forget to include these proofs of trust that you are reliable, that you exceed the expectations when it comes to let's make it very easy. When you set up a meeting for 10 o'clock, you should be there at 5 to 10 and not 5 after
10. That's a good example. And what is also very important to German companies is the financial reliability. In Germany, almost every sourcing responsible person is asked to check if the company he wants to buy from is financially in good shape, and he will check on this. And if you have any possibilities to tell your customers that financially you're fine, then it's a very good asset for you. So I hope the question is also answered.
I would like to add something to this question. We don't know very much about the economy of Estonia. So the big question for a German company sourcing in Estonia is this company that I'm getting in contact with, is it still being around in 5 or 10 years when it comes to after sales activities? So really give them an insight, another signal of trust, as I mentioned. What is your history, your company history, and how can you prove to your leads, to your sales funnel, that you are a long-term partner? Because if German companies to decide to source somewhere, they will be looking not for short-term partnerships, but in most cases, of course, I cannot generalize it, but in most cases, Germans are looking for strong relationships, for long-term contracts, and not for one time being a little cheaper than someone else.
Yeah. So now I think it's going to be the last question that just dropped in. I think it's for you, Daniel. I have a question about Meetup versus Xing. Which, in your opinion, is better tool in terms of potential participation and reach when organizing virtual events? So do different states prefer to use different tools?
Do different states use different tools? Well, the tool that you actually use to conduct your virtual event with is not going to make the difference, except maybe Zoom, because Zoom at the moment has this GDPR thing going on, this data security thing. But the tool itself is not really making the difference. What makes the difference is how you market it. And for marketing virtual events in Germany, for really playing it or advertising it to the target group that you're looking for, I would personally use Xing because it's budget oriented. It's a self-service tool. You can really set it up. It's easy to understand. You don't need a big budget for it. If you want to be quick and market your event in Germany to a very pinpoint target group, I would go for Xing events.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. I think we should now come to an end. If you have any further questions, you will find our contacts in this presentation. Just send us an email or give us a call. We are happy to talk to you in the next few days and weeks. So have a good time. Stay No.
Healthy. Stay healthy and well, and we hope you overcome this crisis. We're trying hard to overcome it, and I hope the next time we virtually meet will be with a brighter midterm future. Thank you very much, and all the best from my side.
Thank you very much, Matthias and Daniel. It was very interesting and useful. Thank you.